Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about rabbit holes. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, how could a manager handle or even understand if an engineer is on a task which is a technical rabbit hole? Well, this is where the trust comes in, because usually when you're if you go down a technical rabbit hole, it's usually due to the fact that there's either very little documentation, or you have a lot of legacy or problems or something like that. And the issue with this is that this is think about it this way. As the software developer, when you go down a rabbit hole, you're basically in a situation where you're stretching your own abilities, if that makes sense. It's something that is difficult for you to comprehend how to fix this problem, because otherwise it wouldn't really be a rabbit hole, right? It would just be something you understood how to do. But as you can imagine, if it's a technically hard thing for you to understand and you need to explore it and so forth, then it's basically impossible for your manager to understand it. It's I can only imagine the sort of think of the theoretical physicists or stuff like that. When they have a conversation with someone like me, it's sort of like, to them most of what they're saying is obvious, but to me they sound like really, really smart. And then you can imagine when they try to express to me something that they find complicated, it might be borderline impossible for me to understand it. But here's the thing. The people who are very gifted in an area, or like technical experts or something like that, it doesn't have to be technical, but an expert of some sort, some concept might be very complicated, but you can still explain it in such a way that it is comprehensible, at the very least in a high level. It's sort of it's the skill that a mentor or a teacher or someone like that has to sort of master, where you're trying to explain to a person who is not really all that knowledgeable about something in terms that they understand this problem that you're facing, or like the concept that you're trying to explain, right, in a simple way, basically. And if you can do that, they will have a sensation of understanding. Not maybe every little detail, but they will have a sensation of understanding. And that's where the trust comes in. So if you are trying to explain to your manager that you are in a rabbit hole, I think that the best thing for you is to do, I've actually mentioned that in another video, take them on a slight story. Like, I'm not saying, don't pull out the Three Little Pigs or something like that. I'm saying that try to explain to them the process that you have undergone and the reason why you have the issues that you have, in terms that they will understand. Because if you give them that sensation of understanding at a high level what you've gone through, they will trust that you are on the right path, or like that you're trying your best, or you're doing your best, etc., etc. It's sort of in a sense, you can think of it as, back in the day it used to be, the hero versus the bad guy, right? And you only really saw the story branch of the hero and all the things that the hero had to go through. But today we're sort of understanding that if you give a backstory to the bad guy, they can even come down as almost borderline sympathetic depending on situations and so forth. You sort of get to, because the more information you provide people, the more context they have, the easier it is for them to relate, or to get a sensation of understanding. But if it's just at face value, it might be difficult to understand or even trust sometimes, because that is what this basically comes down to. Does your manager trust that you know what you're doing, or that you're doing all you can, etc., etc.? And I always found that when you give people that sensation of context, or like transparency and things like that, trust almost always sort of organically is built. And the way that I believe, at the very least, the best way to build trust is to provide a sensation of being genuine to other people, to being transparent and being genuine in all circumstances. I truly believe that is one of the key cornerstones in building that sort of rapport with people. That makes sense. It's sort of At least it's the thing that always works with me. If I feel like if I'm dealing with an individual who is usually not that communicative, they don't really give me reasons behind their actions, or I'm not saying lie or stuff like that, but they're very overtly not very good at showing transparency and things like that. I immediately distrust them, and I think most people would. So the best thing for them is usually, in my opinion at the very least, to just be honest. I even say that to in interviews and stuff like that. If you ever do an interview with me, you will know that that's something that I almost start with, where I basically tell you that I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about different things in the technical landscape that we're hiring for, and if you don't know, just say that you don't know. The best thing is for you to just be transparent, and actually on average most people are transparent and honest and so forth. They don't try to pretend or like trick me or anything like that, and the ones that do, they usually fail brutally very quickly, because unfortunately some people have this they do really try to never appear as like that they don't know or something like that, and they remove the transparency. And the problem when you do that is that my instinct is, all right, I can't trust you because you are going to lie to me if push comes to shove, or you're going to try to pretend like there's not a problem when there's actually a problem, so that you can save face or whatever, etc., etc. And if you have a habit like that, it can become very difficult, because then there's mistrust. Like your manager is not going to feel comfortable trusting you on a subject that they may know nothing about. You might be completely right, and maybe this is a technical rabbit hole, and like you're justified in everything that is being delayed for a good reason, but the gut feeling of the person is still bad because you have a history of not being transparent. And so, or if you have built up that rapport, and just as a rule try to explain the context, and you try to be transparent and genuine in all your interactions with your manager, I promise you this will become almost a non-issue. I've been here many times, guys, and it's never been a problem as long as I have that rapport with the other person. So what I want you to take away from this is that unfortunately rabbit holes for software developers might be very difficult in many cases to explain to like a manager or something like that. That's why it's very important that they trust you, because when it's sort of the same thing when you come with recommendations for like improvements or whatever, right? A lot of people don't understand what you do, and so as any expert who is going to help, be it a patient or a customer or whoever, right? The trust is everything. It all starts with trust. And so if they get a sensation that you are genuine and you seem to be like honest and transparent and so forth, that builds trust with the individual. And then you try to give them some context that even further makes them sort of understand or feel like they sort of understand what's going on and the problems that you're facing. And a lot of people, like those three things, it's almost all there is. It's such an easy thing to do, I think, at the very least. But these three things are like the whole base of what you need to do in order to build trust with other people. And once you have that, even if they don't fully understand why you're being blocked and so forth, they will give you they will believe that you are doing all that you can, and this problem is where it is, and unfortunately you're doing your best, and it might still take some time, but they will allow you to continue because you've built up that rapport with them. Yeah, that's pretty much what I would say you can do at the very least. Have a great day.